Hello, first graders. It is Miss Chen. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to read the story called Memorials and Historic Buildings. It is a story that we're going to use throughout the week. If you have your packets, go ahead and find it, and we're going to read together with the author. So find this page, and let's start reading.
Introduction.
A memorial helps us remember the past. A memorial is a building or structure that honors important people and events. A historic building is notable and important. A historic building helps us learn about our country's past.
Chapter 1. Memorials to Presidents.
Mount Rushmore is a memorial to honor 4 presidents or leaders of the United States. Workers carved the faces of the presidents into the side of the mountain. Each face is about 18 meters or 60 feet long. These presidents also have memorials in Washington, D.C. George Washington was the first president. Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. Abraham Lincoln freed many enslaved people and kept the country united. Theodore Roosevelt helped to preserve our nation's parks and forests.
Chapter 2. Memorials to Brave Citizens.
The Minutemen fought during the American Revolutionary War. These citizens were ready to fight the British in a minute. A statue honors these soldiers. More than 150 years ago, brave men fought and died at the Alamo. The men fought for the independence or freedom of Texas. A statue honors these men.
Chapter 3. Historic Buildings.
The United States Capitol is a historic building in Washington, D.C. The members of Congress work here. They make the laws or rules for our country. The White House is the home of the President of the United States. The President also works here. Both of these buildings are more than 200 years old.
Conclusion.
Memorials honor special people from the past. Some memorials honor presidents. Other memorials honor brave citizens. Historic buildings are old, important buildings. These buildings help us learn about our country's past.
Hello, first graders. So just now we finished reading Memorials and Historic Buildings. And what we're going to do now is we're going to look at this text a little bit closer, and we're going to be text detectives. And what we're going to do is we're going to look for informational text features, or things that tell me as a reader that this is going to be a nonfiction book, or that this is going to be an informational text, or teach me something. So look at your packet and open to this page. And what you're going to notice first of all is you're going to notice this thing called a table of contents. And a table of contents, what that means for me as a reader is that it's going to tell me what this story is going to be about, or what it's going to teach me about. So here I can see that chapter 1, it's teaching me about memorials to presidents. And chapter 2, it's teaching me about memorials to brave citizens. Now, it also, as a reader, if I was reading this book and I was curious about learning something, for example, I wanted to learn about historic buildings, I can look in the table of contents, and I could see that if I want to read about historic buildings, I could turn to page 12. Okay. Another informational text feature that I'm noticing on here is something called a caption. Now remember, captions tell us more about the picture. So here says the Gateway Arch in St. Louis, Missouri is a memorial to pioneers who traveled west. So this caption tells me what this thing is called. It's called the Gateway Arch, where it is. It is in St. Louis, Missouri, and why they built it. And it says that they built it as a memorial to pioneers who traveled west. So remember, captions tell us more about the picture. Okay. So looking at this caption here, it says Mount Rushmore is in South Dakota. What does it tell you more about this picture? Good. It does tell you that where this Mount Rushmore is, it's in some place called South Dakota. Looking at this caption here, what does this caption tell you about this picture of this man? Good. It does tell you that this person is George Washington. And now we're going to skip to the end of the story. And here at the end of the story is something called a glossary. And a glossary is another important text feature for informational text or nonfiction stories or teaching stories, because the glossary is where we can look up words when we don't know what these words mean that we come across when we're reading. So if I was reading this story and I came across the word memorial and I didn't know what memorial meant, I would look in the glossary. And then I will look for the word memorial, and then it'll tell me that a memorial is a building or structure honoring a person or event. So remember, glossary is like a dictionary that tells you what special words in the story meant. Also, here is something called indexed. And say that you are like, oh, Miss Chan, I read about presidents, and I want to read about the presidents again. So you can go to your index, look for the word president, and then these numbers are the pages that you will find sentences or stories about the president. So here I can see that on page 6 to 8, I can read about presidents. Pages 13 to 14, I can also read about presidents. So these are some of the text features that we can look for when we are in reading in nonfiction text. Hello, first graders. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to look for this page in our packet. It has the title Memorial and Historic Buildings. It has a magnifying glass. It is the page that comes after the story that we just finished reading. So the first thing I want you to do is let's read this question together. So it says, what do you think the author's purpose is for the selection? What do you think the author's purpose is for the selection? So why do you think this author wrote the story? I think the author wrote the story to teach us about to teach us about memorials and historic buildings. Good. So go ahead and write that here. And then our next question says, and we're going to read it together, says, what genre is memorials and historic buildings? So genre is the difference between fiction and nonfiction stories. So genre is asking us, what kind of story is this? Is it fiction or nonfiction? It is nonfiction. Good, because you know it's nonfiction because it teaches you about memorials and historic buildings. It taught you about Mount Rushmore. It taught you about the Washington Monument. It taught you about the Alamo. So it taught you a couple of things. And remember, if I'm going too fast, you can always pause it, and that gives you some time to write your answers. So here what you're going to do is you're going to write the genre is nonfiction. And then here what we're going to do is find evidence of informational text features in the story, label and identify the text features. So what that means is that we're going to go back into our story and we're going to look for things that tell us that this is an informational text or a teaching story. So really quickly, think about what are some of the things that we just learned that are informational text features. Good. Some people said, oh, I remember captions. I remember something called a glossary. I remember something called a table of contents. I remember something called an indexed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back into our story and we're going to write the page numbers where we find things. So here I can see that there is table of contents and it doesn't have a page number, but you can just write the words table of contents in this box here. And see if I can find another page. So here, do we see a text feature that we can write about? Good. Some people said, oh, Michelle, I see the captions, which are the words beneath each picture and tells us more about the picture. So here, I don't want you to copy the whole caption, but you can write the word caption and page 4. And you can find other captions in a story, but I know there's 2 more text features hiding in the story. What other 2 are hiding? Think about it. You can look in the book to help you find it. I can give you a clue. It is at the end of the story. Give a couple seconds to think about it. Now, if you said the glossary, give yourself a pat on the back. If you said index, give yourself a pat on the back. And remember, glossary gives us definitions of words that we're not too sure about. Index tells us where we could find more information about these words. Okay, so go ahead and write one example of an informational text here, one example here, another example here. Okay, be safe, be good, and be kind. See you later, guys. Love you.